Cleanse by Joywave. It is 10 songs, 35 minutes long. So disc 3 of Beach House. I really like that album. You heard me. I'm just gonna make fun of it here or there.
Yeah.
Anyways, Joy are an interesting group. So they do like indie electronicas, I would say. Their last album was Possession. I do not remember if we reviewed it or not.
We did, actually.
I would like to say we did, because I definitely remember listening to it.
I would say that we did when it was... So I'll fast forward and say I feel like Cleanse is a return to form for Joywave. I felt that Possession was kind of long, bloated, didn't really have like a lot of like a aim to it. There were some songs there that were like kind of good. Like I remember liking Obsession, but I even remember feeling like Obsession, Possession, a number of the different songs sounded similar, not just because they like have a thematic point to sound similar, it'd be like a contrast, like Obsession and Possession should be juxtaposed and contrast each other. It's more like it sounds similar in the sense that the band doesn't have enough ability to like branch out from that. At least that was what I took from Possession. And it sucks because you get from like Joywave in the indie electronica kind of stuff, like some of the best indie electronica like songs that have been made, like Dangerous with Big Data, like that collaboration that was done, 1.6 and 2.0, like those kind of things. That was a major hit song with Joywave that was just played everywhere throughout the early 2010s and really kind of solidified what this sub genre sounds like, right? Of really electronic inspired indie alternative music. And so you fast forward to Cleanse in 2022, and this is yet another return to form, I think. It's not perfect, but by doing what I think artists can do best, which is return, try to fix and put your best foot forward, but give yourself a time restraint so you don't have enough time to wear out your welcome or potentially make mistakes that would ding you points from picky music reviewers and music listeners like us. That will give you a better result. And you get some really great, even moving sometimes, tracks in here.
Yeah, definitely agree with what you said there, because Iron Hour was starting to remember Possession a bit. Especially how we reviewed it. I mean, Joy have been out for quite some time. You know, staple of the 2010s indie electronica scene, and I mean that's kind of like the whole mood of this episode today, which is funny. But moving on to Cleanse. Excuse me. I like that. I've actually really enjoyed this record. There are a lot of different sounds that I like for this is more of like your indie pop-ish with the sound of it, but it gives you enough sounds to where like you can move and bounce to it. It's nothing revolutionary at all per se, but there's a lot of sounds in here where I like it for the way that they're taking the indie pop sound, because people can, just copy paste a lot of it, copy paste a lot of people's different sounds and just, jumble up some different vocals and then pop it in there and call it an album. But they definitely took a lot of different influences from their previous work. So even like I heard some sounds from Content and How Do You Feel Now, which is earlier records that they've done. But then just, improve upon some of those ideas and sounds that they've had, 7-8 years ago. Pray for the Reboot is a good intro song. It kind of gets you into the album of what it's going to sound like, that 80s-ish synth, but with a modern twist into it, which we've been getting now quite some time, the past 2 years or so for a lot of these indie projects. But what I like about this record is each track is quite different. None of them really necessarily sound alike, which is good, especially, coming off of Possession. And each one is just different enough to where all of them are cohesive in the project. It doesn't overstay its welcome. There's no thing that feels out of place or a track where I'm like, this is filler. None of them really feel like that. Even like the second song by American is good. I really like Every Window's a Mirror, which is the third track, which is like, to me, like that sound of the early 2010s indie sound. But again, just kind of exploring a little bit more on some things in there. But in the context of the record, it's great because it breaks it up. It breaks up just the electronic sound, but then gives you some guitar progression and stuff. Then you into Sin City 2000, then you get more of your synth-filled tracks and a little bit more experimentalisms in there and everything too. So
yeah,
there's a lot of songs I like.
I want to continue off of Sin City 2000 because one thing I want to point out here is that Joywave has had a pretty decent lyrical songwriting talent throughout
Hmm.
it. Like Dangerous is like really biting and stuff like that, like really good. And here you get kind of like this almost like later Arcade Fire 1975-ish snark throughout some of the songs, like Buy American. There's like one line that's like, oh, if it's broken, just replace it, we'll buy a new one. It's a lot about like American like
That's funny.
wasteful culture and things like that. There's some really interesting little hints in there. And then Sin City, it's all like I don't want to be a cynic kind of like
Yeah.
mantra that it's shouting in the middle. I think that's really fun. You get down to like Goodbye Tommy, which is like,
Goodbye
oh
Tommy's
damn.
funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like it's funny, but it's also like kind of like twisted in a way where like I mean like
Super
twisted in
twisted.
like a good way. Where like it's about it seems to be someone who's just like this is the song like this is the way their life ends. Basically, they got shot or something like that. It
Yeah.
seems like a club or a party or something.
Yep.
Honestly, another day in the United States of America, sadly. But
But
just
they
the
do it
way
like off the nose in the way like Goodbye Tommy goes. That's why I love that song too.
yeah, it's a decently approachable way. Like you can definitely sit in it and get in your feelings, but like it's also like approachable and not like a total downer in it. Like it fits in the record really nicely.
For sure.
Um, and then you have, I think you get two really good album enders to the point where it wasn't one of those cases where I was like, wait, there's no more. But I felt like this is where, it's one of those rare times where I'm reviewing an album and I go, I feel like the album should end here. And it actually does. Because I feel like why would you want to be young again? And have you ever lit a year on fire? I mean, have you ever lit a year on fire? Is like a wonderful, just like phrase of turn of phrase. I think a lot of
Yeah,
people
it is.
have that feeling like at the end of
Fantastic.
the year, like, wow, well, what did I even do this year kind of deal, right? Well, however justified or not. But it kind of gets at that, they're kind of having fun with it. They're kind of, they're rocking and they're serious about it, but they don't take even their own lyrics and their own emotions and feelings too seriously. There's
Hmm.
a little bit of a joy to that.
Yeah, and to me, even a couple songs above that, the Inversion is my favorite on this record. I absolutely love that track. Going into the tail end of the record, and especially after Goodbye Tommy, of like kind of such a song that will pull on your heartstrings, but is still on the nose and the cuff. Then you have the Inversion, which is just like this hard, gritty track right after it, which I think is a very, very good placement for that track. And then it sets up the last two fantastically as well. I've been listening to that track a lot the past 2 days. Really, really like Inversion. But yeah, overall, I'm impressed with this record. It doesn't overstay its welcome. Every song has its specific place it needs to be. Like I love the flow of the record. It's not top heavy, not bottom heavy, not middle heavy. Everything flows together. There's no misplaced song here or there at all. And right. And for how short it is too, it's good. It gets you enough where I think it's a perfect length for what it is. Doesn't overstay its welcome. I'm not left in wanting more. It's just perfect. They get the ideas across of what they're doing, and I really like a lot of these sounds.
Is there anything we could want from a tender hook? I mean, album. Just, doesn't overstay its welcome. Not too long, not too short. No, I'm kidding. You set me up so well for that. I'm so sorry. Arbitrary scale this week. We do arbitrary scales every week on Audioface because blah blah ranking systems, blah blah pitchfork, blah blah gay sex, blah blah Congress. This episode, on this episode, we're doing cargo disasters. And this is going to be, for me, that ship that's currently on fire carrying Porsches and Audis from Germany to Rhode Island. And like, there's a whole bunch of like rare ass Porsches that are like one of one. We are not making these shits anymore. Like, and we're only like, 'cause that's what Porsche does as a company. I speculate heavily because this is what I do a lot. And I'm making a video about electric vehicles. I think there's some take-hands on that ship, and
Definitely were set on fire.
And that's going to be an issue to put out because in addition to having a fire in the middle of the ocean where you can't just like bring out firefighters.
Trucks over.
Yeah,
you got a lithium battery fire in there. That is
a lithium battery fire in the middle of the ocean. That shit's gonna be on fire like when we have kids. All right, like that's over.
Right. Like it's as if it's like Chernobyl, where you're like you can't. You have a nuclear reactor meltdown, and you're like, well, all I got to do is put a sarcophagus on top because I can't put it out. It's not gonna die for another 2,000 years.
Yeah. Just seal and deal, baby.
Seal and deal. New Steam name, and it's just a picture. It's just a picture of Chernobyl Reactor 4.
Seal and deal.
Seal and deal, baby.
I mean, that's really just like American domestic policy, also.
This is very true. Very true.
The seal is Flex Seal. Instead of healthcare, all Americans are just sent a bag of Flex Seal to their house. It's like, here, have a wound, Flex Seal.
Stuck that bitch on there.
Replacements cost $500 because they're not covered by health insurance. Anyways,
of course.